Switzerland is known to have one of the world's best healthcare systems. And their healthcare insurance coverage style is one of the things that enables it to be at the top. So, what is special about the Swiss healthcare insurance system? The first thing that you have to know is that the basic insurance is compulsory. So, everyone who is legally living in Switzerland has to have a basic health insurance. So, in this video, I'll explain how this basic health insurance works and I'll make it pretty simple. No jargon words here. So the first thing that you have to know is before taking your health care insurance coverage, you have to decide whether you want to have one for someone who is going to pay high franchise. And when I say franchise, this is the amount that you pay out of your pocket for your medical bills before your health insurance starts paying your medical bills. So in Switzerland, the lowest amount is 300 Swiss francs. There are rumors that this amount is going to increase, but that is not yet the case. So if you're someone who is sickly or someone who is often at the doctors for consultations or in the hospital, the best thing for you will be to take the lower franchise, which is 300 Swiss francs. However, if you are someone who is seldom sick, then the higher franchise will work for you, which is around 2000 if I'm not wrong. So if you take a lower franchise, which is the 300 Swiss francs, then definitely you'll pay higher premiums. But if you take the higher franchise, then you'll pay lower premiums. So that is why if you're someone who doesn't fall sick often, then maybe the route to take for you is the higher franchise. So let me give you an example of someone who pays the lower franchise, which is 300 Swiss francs. So usually your health insurance bills are paid yearly. So at the end of this year, you can decide to change to a different basic health insurer and then you start the whole process afresh. But then most people opt for the option that they pay this amount in installments because it can be huge. For example, depending on your age, you might be paying 500 Swiss francs per month. So if you multiply this by 12 months, you imagine the amount that you have to pay upfront. So many people pay this amount monthly instead of annually. So if you've decided that you're going to go with the 300 Swiss francs, then you have the amount that you have to pay for the coverage, which let's say in this case is 500 Swiss francs. So this you pay whether you're sick or not. And then comes in the 300 franchise. So let's say you fall sick and you pay a bill, you're sent a bill of 1000 Swiss francs. So what will happen is your insurance will deduct the 300 francs. When I say deduct, it means you are supposed to pay that 300 francs because it's your franchise. It's the amount you're supposed to pay before the insurance starts paying. And then there is the 10%. So this 10% is the amount you contribute after the franchise. So let's say from their 1000 Swiss francs, you will pay 300, then 700 is left. You pay 10% of the 700 Swiss francs, so that's 70 francs. So you pay 370 francs. Then the insurance company will pay the rest. So this 10% you pay up to a certain amount, which it's called in French the quote part. So usually it's around 700 Swiss francs, but I'm not certain if that is the case for every insurance company. But then after this amount, if you've paid your 10% to 700 Swiss francs, then it's the insurance that pays all your medical bills without you making any contribution. But even then, you have to be careful because there are those bills that the basic insurance does not pay. For example, you go and buy supplements, you go and buy omega 3s, you go and do ecotherapy, you go and see a specialized kind of doctor for special kind of treatments that are not catered for in the basic insurance, then you'll have to pay those out of pocket. So to avoid this, usually people take what is known as complementary insurance coverage. So you can have your basic insurance and not opt for the private insurance, but then you take a complementary insurance that can be able to pay for things like ecotherapy, can be able to pay for part of your gym membership, can be able to pay for ecotherapy. So it all depends on what kind of complementary insurance coverage you've taken. However, some people will decide that they will take, on top of the basic insurance, they will take private insurance coverage, which is good, and it depends on how much money you have and how much you're willing to spend on your health insurance. If you're able to afford it, it's a very good option. And where it comes in handy is, for example, when you fall sick, and of course, with your basic insurance, you are supposed to see a doctor that is recommended by your family doctor, or a doctor in a public hospital, and the waiting time is really long, then you can be able to see a doctor in the private clinics and get help. But if it's an emergency, you will be seen whether you have private or basic insurance. So it just comes in handy when it's cases of things that are not urgent, then you can be able to be helped faster than someone who has basic insurance and has to rely on the public healthcare system that sometimes can be quite busy and congested. Another thing is, if you have a family, like for me, when I was in Kenya, my company paid for my health insurance. And then this health insurance, if I had children, would have catered for my children, would have catered for my husband as well. But that is not the case in Switzerland. In Switzerland, everyone has to have their own individual coverage. So you cannot use your coverage for your child or for your spouse. Your spouse has to have their own, and your children as well. And something special about children is that children usually will not pay the franchise amount, but they'll pay the 10% until they reach the quota. Then they don't pay anymore. It's the insurance that pays for them. So that is something else that is special for children. Then usually when also someone is pregnant, the insurance will pay for everything. So when I say everything, is the prenatal, delivery, and postpartum. If you need to do physiotherapy postpartum, the basic insurance caters for all of this. But please do not go to a private hospital to deliver and expect the basic insurance to pay that cost. No. You go to a public hospital and deliver in a public hospital. In my next video, I will talk more about maternity and how it works with the insurance and how it works generally, even with employment. But in this video, I just want to make sure that you understand how the basics of the Swiss health insurance. Something else that you must know is when you take your insurance coverage also, sometimes people want to cut down on the cost, and therefore they take the family doctor option, which is very good. But then you have to call your family doctor or have a consultation with your family doctor before you see a specialist. So if you decide to go and see a specialist without going through your family doctor, then your insurance has the right to refuse. Your basic insurance has the right to refuse to pay that bill if you took the coverage that you must go through your family doctor first. Then you'll also find that you have another option where you are free to see a doctor, and definitely this will mean that you will pay higher premiums as well. So the more freedom you get, the more you pay, but the more flexibility you have. So you have to be able to weigh what are my options, what do I want from this health insurance, what do I find as luxury and therefore I really do not need. So these are the basics, and if you have any questions, kindly let me know in the comment section and I'll be happy to respond to your questions. See you in my next video, and bye bye.